start on mute again. My fault. I always start on mute. Got to fix that. Got an issue. We've been getting some good BroFit footage all around the BroFit compound.
Yeah, this is not a normal thing where you guys get to see me from the inside of my home, but yeah, my electricity shut off a few days ago in my studio, and it's putting me at kind of like a stall right now, especially with some clients. So I'm waiting on an electrician to come by today to fix that up, so I can kind of get back to the normal set of things. But yeah, man, we're here. We are. I'm gonna make myself a little recovery shake or a smoothie or my little. If people are curious about supplements, I got my little supplements coming over here, and I'm gonna put together my little concoction, and then I'm gonna go outside and try to get some sun and chat with you about some fitness stuff.
Dude, amazing. Can I tell you why this is a great scenario, by the way? This
What's
is
that?
real life. You're in the middle of dad life, you're getting things done. I mean, it's always great to see you in a gym, but it's like, you know what? That's not all BroFit is. So stop making it that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's definitely good. What's the deal with your gym right now? The electricity, there was an issue, someone's looking at it.
It just shut down. I think I had too much power going to it.
Yeah.
I checked my breakers and everything was fine, but everything's dead. So with my AC is really the big thing. I don't mind working in the heat, but I hate charging people to come work out and it being 104 degrees outside. It kind of seems to almost defeat the purpose. So I I've taken a bunch of clients from today and moved them into tomorrow and Friday. And here we are. Just getting I got my Earthbed Muscle Creatine.
Nice. It's monohydrate. We got to go with the monohydrate. Best absorbed.
I'm really a big fan of Earthbed Muscle just because they work with a lot of Olympians, and it's the stuff that they use for their athletes has to be cleared and tested through so many different genuine tests, and it clears through everything. So I know there's no traces of any like type of weird steroids or anything like that. Normally I have a Reds, but I ran out of my Reds, so I've got some of the Super Beats, just gummies. Normally I prefer to get a kind of like a powdered form of that, and I usually take this before my workout, but here we are after a workout and I'm still taking them. And then some of my greens, nothing crazy, but just some greens. You could do something like this. You could do I know AG1 is another big greens company that's out there, but like I say, you never know what something's going to do for you until you do it consistently. So try it out, see how it makes your body feel, see if you notice any differences. And honestly, a lot of the times I don't notice any differences until I stop taking something.
Yeah. So we got greens, we got nitrates, and we have creatine. Greens, nitrates, creatine. Is there anything else going on?
At the moment, no. That's what I got just currently. Now, this would be something I would prefer to take before my workout. You're going to have to let me know if you lose me here.
Not losing you. We still got you.
Yes. This is beautiful. I'm going to just go sit down over here. Normally
what's
I would take this stuff
what's the temp like out there right now?
Here, I'll give you the.
We're seeing everything today. This is great. Beautiful.
I'm giving you the 360 view of my crazy backyard with toys everywhere from my kids. Let me see how hot it is right now. It's not too bad. It's 94.
94. I kind of miss that. I do so much better, I think, with heat than I do cold, but I do like seasons. I think without seasons, I wouldn't be so great. So I hear that.
Yeah, this would be like a perfect pre-workout drink for me, just because of the nitrates. because I like to have nutrient delivery to my body immediately, like during my workout and afterwards. That's just me personally. I'm one of those individuals that can go out and eat a whole meal and then go work out. I know some people, it doesn't necessarily sit well in their stomach, but especially early in the morning, if I haven't yet gotten to something food wise, this is beautiful because it gives me something. The creatine for the muscles and nutrient loading. And then yeah, afterwards I just devour. I love food, so I try to. The cleaner I eat, the more I can devour. That's the fun part about it.
Best recovery meal is
For me,
favorite.
I don't have like a specific favorite one. Comfort food. I always go back to my three favorite foods are food I don't have to cook, free food, and anything my mother makes.
Beautiful. I like it.
Yeah.
I if I'm really chasing something down, I'm going burrito. I'm going burrito.
Ooh,
That would be my
okay.
answer. I would have to go burrito. That's like usually here if I'm gonna be lifting, if I lift here in the city, I'm gonna
Yeah.
jump over. I'll even go to like Chipotle and grab a burrito over there. If I'm back at home, it's a little bit different though. That's usually morning, so I'm grabbing a shake. But other than that, I want to go back to supplements for a second. I think it's a good thing just to stay on really quickly, and then I want to make sure that I can toss this over to another point of the day to get some good value to everyone that's listening in, which I think is so important. With supplements right now, the three that you're taking, what I want to ask, what brought you to the moment realizing that you need it? Was it the education that kind of told you you needed it, or was it more that your body felt something? Why? What is it that told you that you wanted, needed, started having those supplements?
Yeah. No, that's a great question because I think if first in my journey of supplementations, I probably would have really quickly just jumped right on the whole protein bandwagon and some sort of pre-workout, something to get my heart rate up and get me jacked and to feel the pump and all that other stuff. And as I get older, I'm just looking for things that make my body feel better, allow it to recover a little bit more efficiently, and also get, like you said, when with education, you kind of start to figuring out like, hey, what are the necessities and what are not the necessities? For me, I know a necessity is again, if even if I'm eating clean, even if I'm eating 2 or 3,000 calories, it's still impossible for me to get all the nutrients that my body needs. So for there, I need to make sure that I'm getting some sort of more nutrients, minerals, and vitamins. That could be through a multivitamin. That could be through my greens. I just prefer to take it through my greens because I don't necessarily eat a whole bunch of fruits and vegetables all day long. And I know I can't get enough of those. So I'm just going to go with the greens. And just because, again, it gives me nutrients, minerals, and vitamins. The reds was more of an educational thing. Once I hate the taste of it. I don't like the taste of it really. The gummies are even worse than the powder. But I know what it does and how beneficial it is in terms of just delivering oxygen to the body and how much it can help with your workouts. So for me, understanding how much oxygen plays a role not only into moving efficiently and long term, but really the recovery process of stuff uh, is huge for me. The creatine we've discussed a little bit beforehand. There's been just a ton of information on it, a ton of education out on it, a ton of studies done on it. And as we get older, it's harder to maintain our muscle mass. I know you're a firm believer of having, I believe it's five milligrams every day. I personally kind of go through a somewhere between a half a scoop and a scoop, which would be somewhere between like 2.5 grams and 5 grams. And I'll tend to cycle those on for a month on, a month off, 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off, just because I like to again to play with different things to see how different concoctions work with my body. And I don't want my body being reliant on anything consistently. We've had this kind of discussion long term before, but yeah,
Yeah, I think it's great. What I love is I think it's a great moment to bring up the idea of someone that might want let's say a pre-workout, but that's not going to be a stimulant. Because I think when
Yeah.
people are thinking about pre-workouts, they definitely want the energy. And obviously your sleep needs to be there. If your stress levels are going to be really good, and making sure that you're eating well enough. And you know what? If you don't like to eat before your workouts, or you're working out really early, I think making sure that you look at your dinner as like a pre-workout is always a really great way to deal with it. But for
Right.
anyone that wants to benefit from some sort of pre-workout, but without the jitters, you hear that? The only reason why most people are going to feel the jitters is usually because of the caffeine. And
Hmm.
so if you want to do something without the caffeine, I think the best thing to do, I mean, do you ever have like pre-workout caffeine at all? Is that something that you ever use?
I used to do more of like a nitrous oxide kind of a deal back in the day when I was really big into lifting and more of the Globo gym type atmosphere. Um,
Yeah.
but no, I'll drink my coffee in the morning and um, if I need feel like I've got some coffee left in the pot, if I feel like I need a little kick, I'll take a sip or two in the afternoon. But I try to get away from that because if my body's constantly reliant on a stimulant to move, then I'm again, you go back to the what you were just talking about. Something's wrong with my nutrition, something's wrong with my recovery, something's wrong with my sleep. It goes back and it's masking something else. So again, I don't want to be completely reliant on a stimulant to get me moving. But but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think
I've changed over
so.
the years. I used to be big, when I go out, I would drink Red Bulls and vodkas, and I thought I was invincible. I didn't think about some of those things. I wasn't thinking about my heart health. I wasn't thinking the effects that it was going to have. Now that I'm married and I have kids and stuff like that, I don't need my heart to feel like it's going to explode. I don't need to have loud music that's going rah, like
Yeah,
my
yeah,
stress levels are completely different now as a 40-year-old than they are when they're 20. So what's interesting is that these discussions really may differ between individuals because of where they're at and what they're searching for and what they're looking for in life. Um,
totally.
but if we're looking for a health perspective, I think everybody can kind of get something out of this. But yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. I mean, the biggest thing I want people to have is just the confidence that they can really go into. Because even if we're asking people to go lift and go move your body, and you'll hear certain things around making sure that someone is getting their progressive overload. They're working through progressive overload. It's like, what does that mean? But once you do, I think that there are
Mm,
moments where it can be beneficial to find a little bit of an extra support. Now, that extra support for most people is going to, well, the extra support when you're using something that helps your workout is just called an ergogenic aid. And an ergogenic aid can be natural, and there's also going to be synthetic and that kind of stuff too. But an ergogenic aid, something that actually helps your workout, there are going to be ways that you can do it. And I think that it's necessary for
mm,
some people, right? An ergogenic aid, I mean, maybe let's call optimal sleeping one of those, or having enough carbohydrate before a workout. Like those things can be that. Caffeine
mm,
is an ergogenic aid. And most of the
mm,
time, I think where I would want someone to feel confident with this is if they did need it, right? Where maybe we did when we were younger. I just drink coffee before I go into a workout. But
sure.
having caffeine before it can be safe and it's very
Hmm.
effective because caffeine itself, this is really helpful for people because I was just talking with someone earlier who was like looking to kind of level up one of their workouts, and we talked about things just like their nutrition and pre-workout and stuff like that, because caffeine is something that can actually support the workout by making sure that you can be more focused, right? You can also
Right.
just have a lot more energy for it. But the other thing that it really does is it reduces pain. And so you
Mm,
might end up being able to lift a little bit more and safely. But if you felt as if you couldn't get to your workout, it can be very beneficial. It just determines the amount. Because I know that you're talking about like those heart palpitations and feeling like your
yes,
heart's going to
yes,
explode. I
yes.
mean, everyone's different with caffeine, but the one thing I would want to say is that
Or the
most of the
itchiness.
time, well, that's
Mm,
not caffeine though. If you're getting itchy, that's from the beta alanine, which beta
yes.
alanine is an excellent type of pre-workout. It has a great pre-workout benefit. It like absorbs the acidic environment in your muscle, so it helps you do more reps, which is a really an amazing thing. And I know Thorne makes a good slow release formula for that, and so it's something that I pushed a lot of my higher intensity
Yes.
clients to, and it helps a ton. But if you're
It
itchy,
does.
that's like and
You
like
get
this
that itchy
the
face, man.
yeah, but it's usually itchy on your arms, on your chest, on your back, on your face. Personally, whenever I'll take that slow release. Sometimes you feel a little bit of it, but when you usually if you're using like a C4 or something like
Yeah,
that,
that's right. That's right.
like a pre-workout, it
Nitric
hits you
oxide
hard.
pre-workout. Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
it hits you, and then that's where that itchiness is really going to come in. But there's a big benefit, and it's also really safe because that feeling, it's just basically called paresthesia, and that paresthesia is just it's just hitting your nerves, and it's I don't know. I think it's like okay, I'm ready. Like it makes me feel when I'm like really dialed in. And again, there's no health risk to that feeling. It just feels weird for some people. But the
It
caffeine
does.
itself, I know everyone's different, but usually 300 to 400 milligrams is considered where that ergogenic benefit really starts. And so
Mhm.
I love to make sure that someone really knows that because most of the time with these things, people will end up, and this is what I want to get to, is that a lot of times people will be like, I had a great workout yesterday. I had one scoop of my pre workout, or I had two coffees. And then all of a sudden, like, but maybe if I have two scoops, now it'll be
Yeah.
good. And now all of a sudden they're bouncing off the walls. And I think the last thing I would say about pre workouts is it's usually caffeine is the thing that's going to jazz you up. But usually, where they get caffeine from, if you look at the back of it, is going to be green tea extract.
Mhm.
And green tea extract sounds really safe, and it really is at certain levels. But this is kind of one of those like poison is in the dose situations because usually, if you're taking more than 400 milligrams of the, I'm saying something wrong right now. I'm saying something wrong. Usually, the amount of green tea extract, I have to get the gram again on this. I'm just forgetting right now. But usually, in one scoop, in one serving of the pre workout of that green tea extract, it's going to be considered safe and you can take it. But more than that tends to be toxic to your liver. So if I hear
Mhm.
someone's taking like extra doses of their pre workout, the caffeine's one thing, just feeling making you feel jittery, but it usually can be toxic to the liver because specifically it's coming from green tea extract. And green tea sounds healthy, right? But it's something that we just want to be really careful of, which I think is huge. And then if I can get to the final point here, if you don't like the caffeine and you don't want the caffeine, something that's really helpful is exactly what Brofit's doing. And I love it. And what Brofit's doing is he's using the Reds formula, right? The super beats, basically.
Mhm. Mhm.
And those super beats, that's where the nitric oxide is. So you're using nitrates, and what that does is it dilates your blood vessels and it makes your body be able to deliver oxygen via your blood a lot faster to your muscles and your brain and your lungs. And so, usually, most of the time, it helps your body utilize oxygen more efficiently. And so, you might be able to breathe better. You might feel better in your workout. And it's a really big benefit. So, I always love to see that. And if someone's looking for a pre-workout because they want to make sure they're getting what they want, but they don't want caffeine, like Robbie here is saying he doesn't do caffeine afternoon. I think it's a great thing to
Right.
have,
Right.
or a great goal or a great structure to have. But the super beats, usually if you find a non-stimulant pre-workout, you'll most of the time they're kind of leaning on maybe the beta alanine side, but mostly they lean into the nitrate side. So Brofit's
Mhm.
taking this stuff, it's great. But you don't like the taste, do you?
Um, I don't like the taste of the gummies, but I mean, again, I also like it because I can drink that in the morning. I can drink my coffee. I don't have to eat a whole bunch of food. I can get to my workout, and then I get if it's really early in the morning, I can do my workout. I feel like I have the nitric oxide. I have like my stimulants. I'm not combining two or more of them and getting overloaded on it, and then immediately I can get in my proteins, my carbs, and my fats afterwards. But I've got a few necessities that my body can manage and run off of and be efficient off of. Would it be healthier and better for me if I would actually wake up, eat, and do all of that stuff? Sure, but sometimes our lifestyles don't allow for that. One of the things that I wanted to point back to when you first started talking about the supplements is you said it helps assist, and I really want to key in on that one. It helps assist. I think too many times, too often, people use that as the first stepping stool of like, okay, cool, I'm going to get dialed in. What do I need to get? What supplements? Like, no, what have you done? Have you moved? Have you done something consistently, right? We always go back to that same thing. Like, can you show me 30 days of doing something over and over and over and over and over again And then I'll have an idea of what your body's actually doing. We'll actually have instead of doing this roller coaster ride of up and down every 2 or 3 days, or 1 week on, 1 week off, 8 days on, 2 days off, 5 days, whatever it is, like give me 30 days. Let your body figure itself out. And then we can start to add on and take on. Because I think people again are trying to take too many shortcuts. What's the final answer? Well, what's the perfect rep and set count? What's the how much load do I need? Like how many grams of protein? Well, like fuck, are you doing any of it now in the first place, or are you just looking for the answers before you start your journey, right? And so for me, it is a bigger edge. It needs to be an educational thing. Like, why are you taking your protein? Why are you taking your pre-workouts? What's the purpose behind that? If you're just saying, oh, well, because I need protein, well, cool. You can also go eat a fucking cow. You can have some fish. You can eat some chicken. We can go cook some ground beef and some ground bison. Like, there's thousands of different ways to go ahead and get your protein. I can have some non-fat cottage cheese. I can have some regular cottage cheese. I can have some eggs. Like, you name it. But why? The reason we
Yeah.
do certain things is because of the lifestyle, because of time, because of convenience, because of money. I get it, but there needs to be a reason why, rather than just, oh, I'm going to throw it in there because that's what people do. In fact, I almost sent you something earlier today and said I want to touch in on this of being cautious and careful of who you're listening to in the fitness industry, and go back and see, like, are they actually not only happy, but are they healthy? Are they legitimate and healthy? Or are they doing it for the physical look and likes and shares and all that other shit? Are they only cared about what they can look like in the mirror, or can they actually move? Um, and there's a there's one person specifically I was thinking of, but um, just be cautious. Like, people have their own journeys with fitness, and I get that, and with food. But if the person is constantly sick, or if the person is constantly not feeling good, or if the person's constantly injured, or if the person's constantly has a negative attitude, be careful. Be careful, because there's so much information out there. That's why I say don't get caught up in it. Like, do your thing for 30 days. Stay humble. Stay, like, put your head down, shut the fuck up, stay silent, work hard, and see what happens after 30 days. And then you can start to make some adjustments. So yeah, I just don't go overloaded with the supplements. I don't think it's something that needs to. I used to sell a bunch of supplements, and so I would always be like, oh, you need a multivitamin. If you're a woman, you need to have calcium, right? If you're a smoker or a drinker, you need antioxidants. If you want to gain weight, you need protein and a volumizer. If you're overweight, you need a fat loss too. That's gonna get into your liver and clean out your liver, and you need a thermogenic, so it's gonna and the list goes on and on and on. And I don't want people to get overloaded with that, because it can be a money buster. It can be just a dumpster dive of, like, just so much crap in your body that's unnecessary. And honestly, your body may not even absorb half of it, depending on how or when you take it or what kind of effort you're putting into it. So I just always say, be careful. You can get the majority of your shit out of food, honestly. But yeah, there are some things that you're not going to get. And usually it's nutrients, minerals, and vitamins. For the most part, if somebody took some multivitamin or some greens, they'll be a little bit happier. They'll be a little bit healthier. Um, but just be careful. If it's day one on your fitness regimen, I wouldn't be going into a supplement store and be like, hey, what do you think I should take today? What I think you should do is eat a balance of proteins, carbs, and fats, move for 30 days, and then figure out how your body's adjusted, what your goals are, and what you feel like you can do to make those adjustments.
If I can, because I think that's a great message. I know Barlocker is down here. Barlocker, thank you so much for
I
commenting,
can't
because
see
we'd
the
love
chat, by the
to.
way.
Oh, no worries. I got you.
Okay.
So I'm doing a few things here. I'm going to help us kind of work through some of these questions. So Barlocker is just like, I don't take any. I need to
Mm,
look into more. Now, what I wanted to say is, Brofit's definitely right? We want to make sure that we're understanding where we're going to get things from. That's not what I wanted to share, so that's not going to happen. But we're going to try and fix that share really quickly, because I
ooh,
wanted
I do have the
to.
comments. I got them now.
I wanted to. Is this going to work? Let me see. Is it gonna do it again? Okay, here you go. So this is just a really quick visualization, and it's something I want to make sure that you like bar locker. I'm talking specifically to you, taking into
I
account
love this.
what Brian just said. This
I
is
love this.
like I always come back to this because I
Yeah.
love to utilize and talk about supplements when they're definitely necessary. But you really want to understand, and so like Brofit, bar locker. If you are thinking, okay, well, what do I have to look into more? I need you, bar locker, to start at the bottom of this pyramid. If you are looking into supplements, that needs to come after your confidence in your energy intake, like your calories, right? And that's something that can be done um, in so many ways. Like I have my own little program that I'd like to put people through to understand their like calories, which also teaches them their macros. And that doesn't mean anything until we turn that into food. But calories and macros, right? It's the same thing as someone saying, like, oh man, you know what? I feel like I just don't have any energy. And someone says, oh,
Mm.
wait a second, here's the caffeine. Like here is like a pre-workout. But really, if someone slowed down and said, well, wait a second, how much are you eating? And they go, you know what? I'm having like, 2 eggs in the morning and, I'm skipping lunch. I'm having something else. It's like, you're just not eating enough calories.
Ooh,
And so
yeah.
someone might be like, well, I feel like I'm gaining weight though. It's like, well, you're gaining weight because you're likely binging later, but your energy is crap earlier in the day because you're just not eating enough. And I don't even care about macros yet. It's just like, let's just eat something. And then we finally get into certain things like the actual composition of those calories. So you might
Hmm.
be like, I'm definitely eating enough calories to move, but I'm like, I'm not really feeling full and I'm feeling like I'm sore from my workouts, or you know what,
Mm.
I'm feeling like I have all these different kind of like cravings. And so the macros will matter, right? So calories matter first, but the composition also matters, right? This
Hmm.
is like that
Hmm.
conversation of the argument. Some people are like, it's not only calories. And they're like, it's the quality of your calories. It's like, well, you're both right, whether it's calories or like the quality of them. It just depends what it is. But even the
Right. Right.
micronutrients, and again, bar locker, I'm calling you out because I really want you to hear this. Because even if you look at your micronutrients, if someone tells me, Ryan, you know what, my performance has not been feeling really good. Okay. And
Mm.
before jumping into supplements, I would still want to be, okay, well, let's look at calories. And you know what? I kind of look at their calories, and calories are a check. Great. You're definitely eating enough. And I would definitely say for most people, if you don't have a lot of body fat to lose, and I say that
Mm.
specifically because the numbers can change, but if you're not eating
Mm.
at least around 12 calories per pound, you likely are under eating. And so you do want to make sure that you are going to support yourself. Now, there can be reasons and nuance why you might go lower, and it's fine to do that in some cases, but higher than that
Mm.
can be fine too. But again,
Mm.
around like at least
Hmm.
if you're around 12 calories per pound, you're going to be fine. But double check that. Track your food for one day. But calories are never important. Then like your macros, and I'll leave that to aside for a second. But the reason I'm saying this is because someone's calories might be okay, but you know what? They're definitely getting enough calories, and their macros might look good too. Like they're getting enough protein, they're getting a good amount of carbohydrate, they're getting an
Right.
optimal amount of fat.
Right.
And quickly, if you want to even look at that, what I always tell people is zero point 0.5, 1, 1.5. 0.5, 1, 1.5. That's usually for my really active individuals. I'll say zero point 0.5 uh, uh, grams of fat per pound, 1 gram of protein per pound, and then 1.5 grams of carb per pound. It's more for my active individuals, but that's like a really quick way for you just to kind of think about how to kind of look at your macros. But again, the reason I'm saying this, sorry to get off track each time, is because your calories and macros might look good, but you might be getting all of your nutrition from basically just eating just like tilapia every single day. And I'm saying that because it's low iron. And then it might end up
Hmm.
being something where you're basically getting all your carbohydrate from something that's like white pasta, which is delicious. And it's definitely okay to eat. But if it's your only source
100%.
of carb, it might be an issue. And then your fat, you're getting all of your fats just from, say, butter, right? Those three things, they can all be helpful. But if you're only getting it from those, you're going to be low iron. You're going to be low thiamine. You're going to be low in other things like omega 3. And so we have to look at your micronutrients there. And there's a whole discussion there. And then meal timing, right? If you tell me, you know what, I feel like I'm really low energy in the afternoon when I'm like MP, I can't click into the comments right now. But MP, you mentioned about working out later in the afternoon, not wanting to do supplements. But let's say that you eat, your lunch at 12, and then you don't work out till, let's say, 4. That really is a long period of time without eating to get ready for your workout. You can get through your workout, but you just might be tired. And so the timing of your meals can be helpful. Or if someone tells me I'm never hungry in the morning, but I end up looking at when they eat last at 9 and they don't really eat anything from like, basically like the morning time until like 3 p.m. because they're just not hungry. But that's why
Mm,
you're binging, right? So we want to look at the frequency of your meals. And the reason why I'm really leaning into this is because supplements come after that. Because I really want to make sure that we're not jumping to these things right away.
that's
And
it.
so we really can be careful about what we're doing. So Barlocker, to you, my wish for you is get those things checked out first, and then it's going to put you in a really good spot to then know, do you really need to have something? And I think that that would definitely be really good. And there's one more thing I wanted to get to, but I don't want to take up all the time there. Let me just want to see over here in the chat really quick.
I'd be curious. I'd be
Um,
curious why he feels that he needs supplements.
yeah, I think that's a great question. What is it that you need to look into? Like, why would you do it? So, and
Yeah.
Barlocker, actually, if you want to, in a few words, do you feel like you need supplements or because like you don't have to take any? Is there a benefit? There can be. But what
Yeah.
would the purpose be, you think, as you kind of maybe type out to us, say something? Because, and again, there's no judgment. We just want to know. Like, you're not wrong for whatever you say. We just want to
And
know.
it's not like steroids where you're just gonna all of a sudden just see like a try here's some magnificent difference all of a sudden, after a week if I take the right protein, if it's the, whey over a pea protein or whatever, it's like I keep trying to tell people like those aren't the significant differences, y'all. What's the difference is doing it consistently, and looking back and being like, well, shit. Um, I did things when I didn't want to, or when things got hard, I was still able to go through them and work through them. And like I always go back to it's way simpler than people make it. It's not really complex. It's not science. We just make things way more complex than it needs to be. Um, but I'd be curious, Barlocker, obviously, like you can reach out to any of us privately and chat with one of us just because I'd be curious to hear more about that. Like I've been seeing him some great steps in. I've had some wonderful conversations with him in the past just about life, but I'd be curious just to see what his goals are and why he wants to look down that road, or what if he thinks that it's a necessity, and what we can maybe do to help him. So, Barlocker, if you want to, go ahead and reach out to us privately.
Yeah, that'd be great. And if you
I'm
guys
speaking
want,
for Ryan, by the way. So if I'm
oh
wrong,
no,
I
it's
know I'm
good with
speaking
us.
for you.
If you guys want to, I just put a link down below that is this is something I did actually open up to almost all of the VFriends community at one point. And for anyone listening and doesn't know what VFriends is, we'll let you know another time right now. But I opened this up to the whole community, I think maybe around, or maybe a few months ago. But the link, I don't even know if you can click on it right now. But if you go into that link, there is a program. It's just called my Calorie and Macro Kickstarter, and all it teaches
Mm,
you is just what your calories and macros are, so that you feel as if you have at least some sort of direction to kind of move in. And then there's always that. And I always what I usually call it. It's like 40 minutes in a phone call. So it's 40 minutes of these videos that are going to teach you exactly what you need, and then it ends with a phone call with me, just to make sure that you feel pretty good. So if you really feel inclined, it's there. There are answers. We definitely have answers for you, which brings me to a thought I wanted to see, and because I think this is really valuable for everybody. I wanted to share 3 resources because of what Brian was saying before about like look and see where you're getting your information from. Brian, is there like what I would always tell someone is like, don't let one voice be your reason for doing something. And
mm.
so, especially when it comes to nutrition, like make sure that you're definitely getting multiple opinions or thoughts, or different, even people who say that there's evidence-based solutions for you. Like look and see, because there is other evidence, but it depends on who you listen to.
Mm.
Is there a resource that you go to? Because I want to share 3 resources that are really great for people to look at.
Me personally,
Yeah, excuse me.
resources in terms of like movement or nutrition or at all, or is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So like all like yeah, yeah. Like, who do you go to? Where do you go if you just want to
Well,
either check in on something or learn something? Or is there like a podcaster that maybe you really enjoy listening to that you feel like is a good piece of evidence?
There was when I was into like more lifting concepts and actually lifting weight. I really like Dan John. Dan John is really a simplest. It comes down to squats, hinges, presses, and pulls, and he breaks things down very, very simply to mechanics and being very, very efficient with basic movement standards. Um, I used to always go back to my old trainer, Mac Newton. He was just always kind of like my fitness guru that I could just chat fitness with and conversations with. But I think it's honestly been the coaches. That's the one thing I've been very fortunate to have is a variety of different style of coaches. And that's something I suggest everybody going doing is having different styles of coaches so that you can learn a variety of styles from different people. And what you'll notice is that, and it's kind of like what you're talking with nutrition is if you go through enough people, you'll start to eliminate all the nonsense and you really get down to the nit and gritty of what's important and how to handle certain things. Like really movement's not nothing more complex than what I just said. You got to be able to carry stuff. You have to be able to hinge. You have to be able to squat. You have to be able to press stuff. You have to be able to pull stuff, and you have to be able to have some sort of core control over your core. So um, and be able to get your heart rate up and down. When it comes to movement, that's all about all you can do. When it comes to food, all you can do is eat more, eat less, have a you know a balance of some sort of proteins, carbs, and fats. And those will change, but that's about all we can do. There's not anything more complex beyond that. So I know I
I
kind of got away from your question, but yeah, I would go to a lot of people, get a lot of different answers, go out there and find what works for you and then go try something else.
Yeah, no, I think it's good as long as it's, I always like to say if it's working for you, your health, your mindset, your definition of success, then you do you. This is Mac Newton you mentioned before. He recently passed away though, correct?
Oh, that is his website. Yeah. Yeah, that's an
So
and that
there
was
is
his
some information there.
that 3-2 eating plan I have an extremely big emotional connection to because it saved my father's life like 15, 20 years ago. And he still sits there and uh, eats revolved around the 3-2. The 3-2 is very simple. It was lean source protein, green vegetables, and fruit. And those are the three things you could eat. And you could eat as much of it as you wanted all day long, fruit being about 10% of the diet, and then the two things you could drink was water and 100% fruit juice, no concentrates or any of that nonsense. But it really got down to really high protein intake. This was designed specifically for a lot of people who were very overweight and or his athletes. I used to work out with like Aeneas Williams and Charles Barkley and Bo Outlaw and Ricky Henderson. And I got to work out with some really cool, famous, world class Hall of Famers. And they were big, big, big dudes, but they would still sit and they would eat these meal plans, and it would lean them out. It would get them strong. It would get them healthy. And and the thing I loved about it was it helped maintain muscle mass for people who had a hard time with binging or eating. There was no way around this other than if you wanted to lose more weight, you had to eat more food. It was kind of like you just fueling the fire. And I know that sounds wild for a lot of people. Like, wait, hold on, I'm eating more food and I'm losing more weight. Um, if you kindle the fire right, you can go through a lot of wood. But if you just throw one big chunk of wood out on there, it's going to sit there. It's going to burn. It's not going to burn as efficiently. It's going to get kind of yucky. I don't know if that makes sense of what I'm trying to say, but I've got a
But
huge
yeah, no,
emotional
I
connection.
think it's a huge thing to find exactly what's going to work for you. I
That's
think
right.
that sometimes those I think very specific eating plans can be really helpful for some people. I think they're so important. This is Dan John. I think I've seen Dan John before. This just looks familiar to me. And
Yeah.
so I think I've definitely seen him speaking before, which I think is definitely good. But yeah, I definitely think with form and function, I want to give everyone a little bit of value too in terms of finding some things that obviously are going to work for you. So Mac Newton, Dan John, great for lifting. One person in particular that I love to uh, to look at and just like listen to because I think he's just a really good voice and a good like in between like I think the science and then also the practicality of things.
Mm.
Is always going to be, if anyone is familiar with Jordan Syatt at all. Jordan
Oh yeah.
Syatt, I know a lot of people within the industry, or at least within our community, might know him. He was actually Gary Vee's trainer for like a really long time, and I always love listening to the conversations that he would end up having and the takeaways that they also. Oh, here's Gary right here. So it's always something that I like to go back to him because he definitely has really good. I'm not going to play it now, but he has some really good stuff to kind of look at, and I love the way that he explains lifting because he used to lift at Westside Barbell, which is a really known, and his story with Westside Barbell is pretty amazing too. But kind of looking through and seeing what he has to offer is a really good thing. He has his inner circle, which is awesome. And I want people to look at all of these resources because I think that they're really going to be a good thing for people to focus on. So lifting, we got Mac John, we got I'm sorry, Mac Newton, we got Dan John, Jordan Syatt's great. And the reason I'm saying Jordan Syatt too, because I also love his message around nutrition because it is really simple. Most of the time, he's going to stay on the side of calories. Anything can kind of fit, and he's not wrong, but it might not kind of hit someone too. But he has a really friendly way of really going about and kind of talking about it. Two other things I want to bring up would be and if you guys in the chat, if you guys have anything else that you um, anyone else that you possibly have seen before or that you get information from. I mean, maybe it's Joe Rogan. I don't know. I wouldn't go to Joe Rogan for nutrition advice, but some things that I would say is you can go towards two other people for nutrition, at least. I know one person I really love is E.C. Sinkowski. She has a great podcast called The Consistency Project. I love what she definitely talks about. She does love to talk about evidence-based nutrition all the time. And she really does get into a lot of the things that I think that we're thinking about, but making sure that we're kind of breaking through some of the myths around everything that's really going on. So this is a really good podcast to check out against evidence-based nutrition. She does a really good job of breaking it down, I think making it really practical. So E.C. Sinkowski, Jordan Syatt on the nutrition side. And I have one last one that I want to share with you guys too. I don't know if I can just switch these over. I've been definitely Ben Greenfield was in for an in-body today.
Yeah, sorry, I sent those over to you. Those are two more people that I just couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. Where am I going with this? I am trying to get one more thing. Sharing the screen. I should be able to jump back and forth, but I guess I can't. And then the last one is this. This one too. So I love Jared Hamilton. Jared Hamilton is a great guy to listen to too. He has an awesome podcast. It's just called Dieting from the Inside Out. This is someone who's probably going to take you a little bit further away from calories and macros, but he has a really good way of explaining mindset and everything around nutrition. But he's also an Olympic lifter. He's big into jujitsu, so he has his sports nutrition side. So I think it's really important, just again, for us to keep sharing kind of where we're getting a lot of this information that we might get. Like I know through my education, but I also want to share with people too, as we kind of talk to the chat and everyone listening, the things that are going to work for you. So I just want to make sure we keep bringing those up. And I'm going to put this in here, E.C. Sinkowski. And anyone just wants to grab those in the chat. But really, really great resources for you guys to turn to. Please make sure that that even if you're hearing someone talk about nutrition, like you're getting this like bunch of nutrition information that the person you're listening to, they've got it from somewhere else as well. So definitely ask, like, where are you learning this? Where did you learn this kind of stuff too? And you know what? A title and even a certification or a license does not mean someone's always good. So you just always have to kind of check out what it is that they're actually talking about, where they're getting their information, who they are, all those kind of things too. So that was fun. It was fun talking about that.
It does, definitely. Yeah, it's not science. I mean, like, again, I keep talking about it and I go back to it. The most basic concepts done the most efficiently are usually the most successful. I mean, we can go back on. I like to look at athletics specifically, just because I think movement and exercise and fitness can translate obviously right into sports. But you look at some of the best athletes in the world, and they're capable of doing some phenomenal things. But what people don't see is how meticulously perfect that they are on the basics, that they have such a foundation of perfection when it comes to the simple things,
Hmm.
rather than skipping those steps and worrying about the next thing and about worrying about, like Kobe Bryant was so good at just every detail of every movement. Of course, he could do these showy, fancy movements and whatnot, but his game was so solidified and so foundationally smart. Same thing with Jordan, right? Or LeBron, you could say. Like, their games foundationally are so good that it allows them to be great. Instead of worrying about being great, they worry about being really good. Tom Brady's another great example. He worried about the things that he could control, and that was it. When he first started off, he had what, one or two snaps, and he'd go out there and control those one or two snaps, and he'd give everything he had into those one or two snaps. And those one or two led into four or five, and then those four or five led into eight or nine. And then before you know it, he was starting a game, and then that led him to have a career. But if you go back, and the foundation of him being a backup quarterback and caring so much about that one pass or those two passes in the end of the fourth quarter when they've had a blowout on either end of the game, when nobody gives a shit that he's in except for him, he created this mentality of, I'm going to work my ass off so hard and be so good at these small things, and I'm going to care about that one pass more than anybody else. So then when that one pass leads into two or three, I can then go ahead and transition that thought process. And when it goes into a full game, or you know the most important game of Super Bowl, I'm able to take that same mentality and thought process and deliver, because I'm not worried about delivering. I'm worried about the process of it all. And the process is where the beauty gets at. And that's why I say, do something when it comes to fitness, do something when it comes to nutrition, because it's the beauty is in the process. That's why I think we enjoy watching everybody in the V Friends community starting their new projects or doing something, and we're able to watch them. We don't want to see just the final product. We want to see the whole process of it all, because that's where all the fun stuff happens. Um, so I encourage people to get out there and move, get stuck in the process of it all, because it's fun and exciting. And you start to learn not only about yourself, but you start to learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And then you can start making those decisions to help better yourself and your family.
Really. And, if I love everything you said, I think it's so necessary just to make sure that you're kind of placing these, there's someone you're looking up to. What did they do? If it's Tom Brady, go ahead and do Tom Brady. Goodness gracious. I'm so jealous as a Jets fan to have a winning quarterback and a winning team and a coach that
I'm
doesn't
a,
get fired
I'm a,
every three and a half
I'm a
years.
Cardinals fan, so But
Makes
yeah, I
it
mean,
tough.
you go back. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's nothing fancy. It's always it's the consistency. It's the repetitiveness. It's the doing the things that you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. I had somebody message me being like, "Hey, is there a workout that I can do for, just, I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling 100%. My allergies are going nuts right now. Like, they're having a hard time breathing." And they're like, "Do you have a workout for that?" And my thought process is, well, why in the hell does the workout have anything? Like, why are we going to change anything? Because you're having a hard time with your allergies? Like, in the grand scheme of things, what the hell does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Like, you're just using now something else to give you an excuse to get out of something, or to take it easier, or to deviate from the plan that was already set in stone because something got more difficult for you, because something is outside of your control, because something didn't feel perfect. Well, guess what, guys? It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be butterflies, rainbow, cotton candies, and sunshine. Like, shit gets hard sometimes. You have, like, we talk about this, Ryan and I talk about this, chat or couch or whoever, just we talk about it as because like we do because we've gone through this trial and tribulation 1,000 times. We've had to make those decisions, whether it's for us eating or for our family, or to get to the gym, or to work out, or to do those 24 repetitions, or to get those 15,000 steps in, or whatever it is. Like, when we talk about these things, we're also preaching to ourselves because we've had to go through these steps too, and it's a journey. It's a really long journey, but it has to be. If you want to see some sort of success, you've got to be willing to do the things when they're not always perfect. You got to be willing to get outside of your comfort zone. You got to be willing to say, hey, I put this time set aside. I've made these choices to go ahead and focus on these things. And I'm not going to get distracted. I'm not going to get taken off of my line because I've made a decision. And ultimately, again, that's why I go back to, can we do something consistent? Life's going to throw us enough obstacles. Like, our timing of the day is going to throw us enough obstacles. Our kids, our stress, our work, the balance of all these things are going to throw enough stuff at us. So just to fight through that in itself is an accomplishment. So get through that, work on staying consistent, and then you can start to, figure out where you want to make some strides. I know my topic is going way off tangent right now. I'm
Those
just
are good.
looking outside and
I'm
it's a
just assuming
beautiful
it's
day.
burpees. Did you just tell the person do burpees when they were feeling congested? Is that in their allergies?
No, I'm going to chat with, I have a workout with them in about 35 minutes and I didn't respond.
No, I
I
hear
didn't
you.
respond. I didn't respond because I don't know what my initial thoughts, my initial response wants to be a smart ass and be like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, why like that? Why the hell did you even send me that text message? Like, what do you want out of this? Are you trying to tell me to take it easier on you? Do you not want to work out? You want me to give you like a napkin style workout where you're not held? What they're basically saying is, time out. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to be held accountable. I don't like the situation I'm going to be put in, and I'm not comfortable with it. Can I get out of it? That's
Profit.
what I need.
Are you are you going to kill someone today?
No, I'm not going to kill someone, but you can hear it's, to me, it's an
I got you.
attitude. And
I'm
that's why
just
I say
kidding.
attitude is everything. I worked out this morning with my father and his now new trainer who was underneath Mac Newton for a while. And so I kind of got this little spiel afterwards. And it was kind of a constant reminder of, and he used somebody else and it just happened to translate to me and one of my clients. And the person he was talking about was actually sick. And he's like, yeah, this person actually got up, was sick. And they're like, they're just regurgitating negativity. And he's like, who the fuck cares?
Yeah,
Like,
I hear you.
I get that. You're sick. You're not feeling well. You didn't get sleep. You got stressed. You got a job. You didn't eat right. Your kid's been screaming all day. Now nobody fucking cares because we all have stuff going on in our lives. So now what do you want to do about it? You can either get up or you can get down. You can either move forward or you can move backwards. But when it comes to food, when it comes to fitness, there is no sedentary, I'm going to stay on this path. You're moving up or you're moving down. And a lot of us do this roller coaster ride. And for me, I'd prefer just to keep climbing up the hill because life will naturally bring you down. It's inevitable, whether it's time of getting older or just breaking down or natural stresses of the world or running out of time, whatever it is, the world's going to break us down. So I want to constantly continue to build my mind up.
I hear you. Yeah, it is. It definitely is going to be. There's definitely a place for the no BS message. I think
No
we're gonna have to
death
leave it
today.
there
No
for
death.
today, though. We're gonna need to. I'm jumping on to a great stream with my buddy Robbie. Just after this, we're gonna be talking about his second lap around the world. All things,
Sweet.
and I've said this all together. So Robbie's gonna have to correct me at some point. But when we're talking about all things walking and just life and business altogether, everything that he's learned on his first lap around the world as he's completing his second, that's what we're talking about. So come join us just in a second, guys, and we'll be there. But Brofit, thank you again for just all the motivation you always have to offer.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate being here and chat, couch, whatever we're calling it. We appreciate you guys for swinging in, stopping in, saying hello, and spending your afternoon with us.
All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Take care.